I'm glad to welcome you to the SRM-SCP certification preparation course. Today's first class is an introduction to SRM-SCP certification. We have 4 classes in total. Today, first we're going to learn about some of its nuances. A little bit about this course. The SHRM-SCP, Senior Certified Professional, certification is popular among HR professionals as it opens doors to international careers. This is one of the most popular certifications. There's also HCI certification with its SBA counterpart, and CIPD, where the equivalent would be level 5 or level 7. We prepare for 2 out of 3 because CIPD is more like higher education, not exactly a certification. And this specific course is about SHRM-SCP. Why is this necessary? According to research, obtaining such an international certificate leads to salary increases and career development. This is the course website for learning the details. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and the role certification has played in my career. I showed you on the first slide how certifications helped me. I'll come back to that again later. Overall, I started my career at Alpha Bank. There I already met international employees I remember their diplomas. They had their degrees displayed in their offices. Our chief accountant was the chief operating officer. He had an ACCA certificate, CFA for finance, and IT folks had their own certifications. I then noticed that some guys had MBA diplomas hanging on the wall. I realized that these international top managers, we had people from the Czech Republic, Poland, and I think one top manager was from Pakistan. I thought, yes, they have certificates. Then I worked at the STB TV channel, and it was while working there that I learned about SHRM. I found out about the certification. Back then, SHRM and HCI had a joint certification, meaning SHRM was the community and HRC was certified. I thought how cool it was to have an HR certification, but it was in English and my English wasn't the best at that time. By the way, I also started improving my English at the STB TV channel. Then I was invited to work at Wargaming, and that's where I thought, as I already had international colleagues, including an HR director from America, I thought now I definitely need certification to show my colleagues that I'm competent. I was working as a business partner then, and I got certified by the Human Capital Institute as an HR business partner. Then I went to work for Preply. And while working there, I decided to go for HCI certification. I got the certification after preparing for it for a long time. Then I wondered how it differs from SHRM. I needed to take the SHRM exams. This year I took the SHRM exams and got that certification as well. I also worked at Ideals and consulted for PeopleForce. That's a brief background. When I was working, it was important to me that my knowledge and achievements were recognized. So I participated in some nominations myself or tried to gain some status. For example, on a Lifehacks website, I wrote articles aiming to make them the most read for the week, month, and year, which, by the way, I achieved. In one instance, a magazine and its director offered to put me on the cover themselves. Okay, good. For some nominations and contests, I was nominated, and where I could submit an application, I did. I believe that for a professional, having diplomas, certificates, victories, some external signs of success is important. And I saw how my colleagues and supervisors, seeing all this, treated me with respect, appreciated me for speaking at conferences. I had lots of conference badges, even spoke at international conferences and so on. By the way, I was named Person of the Year twice, and I saw how the whole community respected this achievement and talked about it a lot. Certification is also one of these signs of your success, a sign of your professionalism. By the way, my diplomas are from the Human Capital Institute, SHRM, and HCI. I don't plan to stop there. I plan to move forward. I won't share what the next step will be. I'm thinking about it a bit. I'll tell you about it later when it happens. This is a bit about our Academy's successes, with various awards. But it's for those unfamiliar with our activities and who'd like to understand what kind of academy this is. In my work, I rely on best practices. For me, it's also a sign of the right approach in HR. I would appreciate it if you write about yourself, what your position is. This video will be posted on YouTube. You can write about your job in the comments there. I read these comments, so please write there too. So what else? This course will have homework assignments. All our courses have this, and homework assignments allow you to get our Academy's diploma as well. We issue the diploma on the Accreditable platform. It's also a very cool international platform. The course program itself consists of 14 sessions. Today's class is introductory. The last session covers exam registration, how the exam takes place, and how the platform works. We will be looking at all of this in detail. 12 of the classes are theoretical, where we review the material and go over sample tests. We also discuss the material. This is how we prepare for the exam. We explore possible topics. Today we will talk about CRM-SCP certification, how it differs from other certifications, exam specifics, cost, English language requirements, and the competency model underlying this certification. So what is certification for? Who created this certification and why? Cornell University once conducted research and determined that certification was one of the hallmarks of a profession. We can say a profession exists if, among other things, it has certification. That's why all serious professions in the world sooner or later develop some kind of certification for a set of knowledge that professionals must have to be considered qualified. This applies to HR as well. HR is a serious profession. I think you are likely experienced HR professionals, because people usually don't start thinking about certification without work experience. They typically consider it after working for some time. Let's continue. What is SHRM-SCP certification? HRM itself started issuing certificates relatively recently. As I mentioned, SRM is an international community, one of the oldest, I won't say ancient, but one of the earliest, probably about 60 years old. And they created HCI about 50 years ago to share this community, conferences, materials, articles, publications. HCI is purely for certification. Then at some point around 2015 or 2016, these two organizations separated. Both became somewhat of a community and somewhat of a certification body, meaning HCI started developing content, publishing materials, conducting research, developing a competency model. Now they're publishing their own courses. And SRM started doing its own certification. At first they were different, with slightly different approaches. SRM accused HCI of having a very outdated competency model with little focus on various judgments. HCI has done a lot of work. I've actually taken both exams. I've seen the questions, how they look, and they're similar in many ways. They're just two different organizations. Since HRM hasn't been issuing certificates for that long, they've issued about 100,000 certificates. They only have two certifications, CP, Certified Professional, and SCP. SCP is the higher level. What else? According to HRM research, 63% of certified professionals were promoted after getting certified. The certification is recognized and applied worldwide. SHRM is the world's largest HR organization, with millions of members, and over 100,000 people have successfully completed the certification. The advantages: first, when you prepare, you actually learn something new and improve your knowledge. Second, research shows, and this applies to other certifications too, including HCI and even non-HR certifications, that certified individuals start earning more and experience accelerated career growth. Plus, certification demonstrates your commitment to the profession. Some companies and people don't like specialists who frequently change fields. They want to work with people who have decided that HR is their calling and are in it for the long haul. Your certification shows this because you invested time, prepared, and took the exam, proving you're serious about this profession. By the way, the association is 75 years old. HCI celebrated its 50th anniversary this year, whilst HRM is 75 years old. They established HCI 25 years after HRM's founding. It's the largest HR association and was the first to develop HR competency models. Now HRC, CIPD, and many others are doing it too. They have two levels: SHRM-SCP for entry to mid-level professionals and SCP for senior-level practitioners. Now for comparison, HRCI has SPHR. It requires a minimum of 4 years of HR experience. SHRM requires 3 years of experience, but at a strategic level. You must demonstrate that you've dealt with strategic issues specifically for SCP. CIPD can be level 5 or 7. HCI has 140 questions, SHRM has 158, CIPD doesn't have tests, but requires writing and regularly submitting CPD. The exam cost is $550 for SHRM, $435 for HRCI. CIPD doesn't have an exam. All training, including the diploma, costs about $5,000. The content will be more or less similar. HR topics, leadership, business, these are roughly the topics that will be covered. If you want to take the SHRM-SCP specifically, you need to ensure you meet one of the main requirements. You must have 3 years of experience performing strategic level responsibilities. SHRM doesn't require this to be specifically in an HR position. You could have been a COO, for example, with HR-related tasks, because HCI is more stringent here. They say, you should be the one working in HR. And with HRM is less strict, you can be CEO, COO, something else. But you must show that you have worked at least 1,000 hours in a calendar year at a strategic level. So you were strategizing, you were developing strategies, you were developing policies, you were walking some changes and so on. That's what's important. What's also interesting is that even HR consultants who are not salaried but freelance can also get this certification. These are the requirements. It's not that it's difficult. That is, if you're, let's say, if you're a manager or the entire HR department or any of the areas, recruiting, total reward, whatever, you can show those thousands of hours. If you're a rank and file performer, it's better to go for SHRM-SCP. SHRM's exam is held twice a year, can either be called Windows, or it will be May-July, or it will be December-February. That is, until May. After July, you can't turn it in. That is July under December. You can't give an exam in February through May. You need to hit either one or the other window. The closest window opens the 1st of December and will be open through February 15th. That is, it is the latest date to take the exam at the closest window. Rules like this. What's next? It is possible to take the exam offline at a Promeric test center, which is available in many countries, in many cities, or online at home. Everything is moving online now. So there are more and more opportunities to do it at home. It's not complicated in principle. I go into detail in the last class about how this happens. Sharing my experience, I've been home renting. I've been with one test that was at HRC, took it at the test center, just Prometric until they changed to Pearson. And SRM was renting out houses. Very comfortable and convenient. The exams are designed to be 4 hours long, 3 hours and 40 minutes of testing itself, 20 minutes, all sorts of preparations. People pass the exam faster. So it took me 2 hours from preparation to passing to identification to everything. So basically, there's a margin here. You don't have to sit there for 4 hours, you're done there. Early on, everyone completed the exam and free. This is the kind of testing that takes place in Prometric's ProProctor program. Let me show you what it all looks like. It's a website, and there's a little video like this. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to go with me. Anytime, anywhere, Proctor. The remote assessment solution that offers test takers greater flexibility in their choice of where, when, and how to test. With 24/7 access and an easy-to-use platform, ProProctor offers candidates a convenient alternative to testing at a physical testing center, allowing T-sponsors the opportunity to reach more candidates and expand their programs. ProProctor provides a personalized experience for the candidate, matched with a program's exam-specific needs to deliver a consistent and fair experience for all. ProProctor adheres to strict security measures adapted from the industry-leading policies and procedures used in Prometric's network of test centers. To further ensure the security of each exam, 3 highly trained individuals with defined roles will coordinate with one another and layer the necessary security measures for your program. Verify that the exam is appropriately and securely administered every step of the way. With Prometric's 100% live proctoring option, proctors are constantly monitoring each candidate and maintain full control for the duration of an exam. Using artificial intelligence to augment the solution, these proctors remain present and attentive to test takers throughout the exam experience. ProProctor's proprietary browser has lockdown capability that allows candidates to only access authorized resources relevant to their exam and restricts proctors from accessing exam content. If at any time during an exam, a proctor suspects inappropriate behavior, the video can be reviewed in real time, or after the fact by a security agent, all without interrupting the examination in progress. These capabilities, combined with ProProctor's intuitive platform, provides test takers a fair, convenient experience outside of the traditional T-center, giving more candidates greater opportunity to achieve their credentialing goals. The test center is now anywhere. Open up the world of testing with ProProctor, making testing accessible anytime, anywhere. For so little. Look, we just watched the video, it was in English. And if you understood almost everything it says, then you can rent houses because they will speak to you in English. You will need to answer basically is, or show me where your phone is. If you, when you watch the video, find it difficult to understand, then it is better to go take the offline exam, and there you will be spoken to in the language of the country in which you are taking the offline exam. That is, there is already communication in the local language. You do not need to say anything during the exam, only read. We'll talk more about that in a moment. What does the exam consist of? 2 minutes of reader, well, that is a reminder of privacy. 10 minutes you will be shown how the platform works, where to click what. Then you have 2 sections with 1 hour and 5 minutes for each conclusion. Basically, it's just that all the questions are beaten into 2 parts. You've gone through the first section, clicked submit, opened the old section, went through, clicked send all. Well, and at the end of the post, an exam questionnaire to collect feedback from you. What's inside? The exam itself consists of, and they are identical. SMCP, SRM-SCP have identical quantities. It's just that the wording of the questions may be different. We'll talk about that here too. 13 questions you will be asked to answer. 80 of them are knowledge-based questions, 54 on situational judgment. You are given a situation and you need to choose the right behavior. And both exams include 24 assignments that will not be graded. That is to say, it is necessary for the subsequent those who will take the exam. How are the questions divided by topic, percentage-wise, behavioral competencies, HR professional knowledge, about 50-50? And the types of questions. So 50% is knowledge, 40% judgment, 10% is leadership questions. You may before you pass. Of the exam itself on the SRM platform, take a little test like this and see what the question looks like. Here's roughly what they look like. So it is such a form purely for practice. On the actual exam, the window is a little different, but the way the questions are worded, the way the answers are worded, how the choice is made, it is identical. So in an exam, you look at a question, you're given 4 answer choices, and you have to pick one correct one. So it's not writing, it's not problem solving, it's just sitting down and choosing the right answer. Well, let's take a look together. So the question being asked here is what selection tool should be used to fill the vacancy that requires managing multiple priorities and working under pressure? Options are coming. Cognitive ability test, background check, behavioral assessment as it's called. Grades at the institute, it's called something, I forget the grade book or something like that. It's where the grades are for each subject. What comes with the diploma transcript. You can choose what you think is the right answer now, and let's see if you succeed or fail. While you're thinking, I want to say, what are we doing in class in this course? We deal with these kinds of issues. So our task, besides learning some new things in Chari, our task is to learn how to parse questions, to learn how to answer questions. Therefore, in this course, we deal with the questions. We practice. You write in the chat room what you think is the right one. If you're wrong, we look at why you're wrong, I see. Olga chose S, excellent. Thank you. And we always look to see what the right answer was. In this case, the answer is correct. There goes the description. And through such practice, through analyzing correct answers, we learn how to pass tests. And then at home, you also have access to practice tests. Between classes, you practice taking them at home. Well, there's going to be a lot of those questions right there. Try going through at home as you rewatch the webinar. Let's look now at the second type of situational judgment questions. These questions are usually longer in text. That is, they describe a situation and possible courses of action. How such questions are developed. They're basically all designed the same way. The experts who are selected are what's called a panel. Panel of experts. She suggests different questions. These are some HR practitioners. These are people who have taken exams and answer choices. Members of this panel vote for the option they feel is the most correct. This is the option and is chosen as the right one. Then such a question is tested but not evaluated on real people, the participants of the exam. If he passes any standards, he's kept. For example, if their 60% gives the right answer, they leave it in. And if it's 100% 95, then it's heavily light, they take it out. Yes, another important point in the exam is that you must give correct answers to 80% of the questions. That is, you must not make a single mistake. You have basically a possibility estimated 20%, that is 26 times you can be wrong. Anyway, that's fine. Well, let's look at an example of a judgment question. VC and President of Talent Development is requesting communication skills training for 2 days for the team. Vice President and coach meet to plan the session. The Vice President explains that the department works on several key projects and needs to improve effective communication to be successful. During a training session, the trainer observes a clear lack of trust and openness among team members, which causes a situation where some team members simply walk away from the training. The Vice President receives feedback from supervisors indicating that the training session did not go well. That's why the Vice President is requesting a meeting with the coach. And now, after the training session is over, what step does the trainer need to take? To look at the evaluation of the training after the session to debrief the Vice President on their observations during the training, meet with the team leader to reveal their findings, calculate the ROI for such training. Well, those are the options. So there are purely some behavioral options here, and you have to choose the most correct behavior. You can think about it and write in chat what you think is the correct answer here. You will be given 1.5 minutes per question on the exam. So basically, there's plenty of time to think. So I will not rush you either. I will give you a chance to reflect. It's been about 1 minute now. Okay, here's another 20 seconds to go. The correct answer here is answer A. There's a description of why that's the correct answer. And there's a few variations of that, so this is just a demonstration. So we won't focus on it too much right now. After the exam, you will receive a report. For example, this is the report I received. As it turned out, almost all my topics are in the strengths area. Nothing fell into the development zone, nothing even landed in the middle. This suggests that the exam is not extremely difficult. I didn't prepare for it at all, but I teach exam preparation. So I'm constantly dealing with this subject, which makes it easier for me. But overall, I'd say it's not super difficult if you set yourself up properly, prepare, and understand how it all works. And our specific course helps you understand that. After the exam, you get your diploma from SRM and a badge you can add to your LinkedIn profile. Once again, the requirement for SCP is 3 years of work experience. This is again about the exam cost. For those who aren't association members, it's a bit higher. For members, the exam cost is slightly lower. Now about the English language. For many, it's a stumbling block and they wonder whether to prepare or not, whether to take the exam or not. Indeed, if you don't know the language, it's an additional difficulty because you need to translate what you're reading into your own language. But as practice has shown, most of our students pass the exam successfully. I've noticed a clear correlation between following recommendations and exam success. Those who follow all the recommendations, and we see this, pass the exams much more successfully than those who hope they'll do well anyway. We see how you take tests on our platform. So after you take the exam, we check to see how you did on the test. Our students pass the exam quite successfully because we speak Russian in class, but read all slides and questions in English. So on one hand, we don't move away from English, it's always in front of us, and we get used to it, we get used to the wording, descriptions, and words, but the brain doesn't get lost or shut down, unlike when preparation is entirely in English, which is a bit more difficult. There were even situations where I had a group from Kazakhstan with very weak English skills. There were people who didn't know English at all, had studied German, or had only beginner-level English. But they worked with an English tutor in parallel, intensively for about 6 months, 2 or 3 times a week. And in that group, people without English or with only a beginner's level before training successfully passed the exam. So in principle, it's possible to prepare even this way. But again, when their English was weak, they additionally studied English with a teacher. But these were very motivated people. They were HR directors of some large international companies in Kazakhstan, so it was very important for them, and they really tried hard. Where we learn, in addition to online webinars like this one, we have an online platform where you submit your work. It's not the SRM platform. SRM has its own platform. I bought materials from them a long time ago. It's complicated. For a person, especially a non-native speaker, they provide an excessive amount of information for reassurance. The information isn't the easiest, and it quickly becomes overwhelming and complicates preparation. Our preparation is clearer and simpler, and it's in an amount that doesn't overload you, but is sufficient for the exam. So it's not yesterday's platform, it's our own platform that we use. There are also test questions there. There's also a time limit, so you learn to answer them under time constraints. You can see what percentage you scored. And when you score 100%, you see which answers were correct and why. That's how it works. So until you score 100%, you won't know this. You'll keep trying, and this is part of your development. It turns out we have 12 of these theoretical classes. And you'll have 12 such tests, each test with about 50 questions, give or take, something like that. Overall, you'll get good practice. Remember that in addition to the SRM diploma for homework, you can earn a diploma. So what will the course give you? A closed group on Telegram. Support materials, you won't need to buy anything extra. Higher chance of passing the exam. Practice tests also provide rhythm, which is important. When there is a rhythm, when you understand that once a week we cover one lesson, it appears. Either you attend online or watch the recording. You understand that you need to watch one lesson per week, send in your homework. So there is some organization of your time and solving problems and difficulties that arise. We provide consultations on these issues. Global exam statistics. SRM-SCP has a lower exam success rate than SMMCP. So special attention needs to be paid to preparation here. You should not hope that everything will be fine on its own. Tests, classes, reviewing, materials. We provide lecture notes and class presentations. There is a lecture outline. It is not very long either. In each presentation, around page 23 in English, are the lecture notes. The lower level task is related to this because SCP is a higher level. These are questions on leadership and judgment, slightly more complex tasks than for CRM-MCP. Well, since it is kind of for strategic characters. Materials and tests. Usually SRMs are not only sold to CRMs, there are organizations that sell all kinds of preparation materials. This is usually worth it too. You do not need to buy any of this separately from us. You have bought the exam preparation. There is a platform with all the materials. Everything is included. You do not need to buy anything additional. You will only need to pay for the exam. Once again, how we prepare. Once a week online webinar, then the recording is posted in your personal account. You can watch the recordings as much as you want throughout the year. The same goes for tests. You can take them as many times as you like during the year. Notes. You can download the notes in PDF format, print them out. Many people do this, highlighting with markers, writing notes, translating. In the last exam, I explain in detail how to register for the exam, how the preparation happens, what occurs on exam day, how the proctor communicates with you, what happens after the exam. The last session is recorded in detail on this topic. Well, it will be recorded for you and updated when we get to this session. What's for SHRM-SCP? What's for SMM-SCP? Competency model. They're identical. There's just more emphasis on leadership and strategic issues in SCP. And homework. Now, for those of you in the course, think about and describe how obtaining the CRM-SCP certification will help you in your job and what challenges you anticipate in preparing for and passing the exam. And what do you think will help you overcome these challenges? That's all. Next, we'll break down the soft skills in the competency model and talk about organization and management. And then we'll cover all the HR topics, go through test questions, and the last session will be about registering for the exam. That's it. Thank you all. I invite everyone to join, prepare, and pass the exam successfully. I'll be happy to help and guide you through this. See you soon. Bye-bye.